We have a progress report from the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force. The team has identified nearly $6.3 billion in suspected fraudulent government contracts. Now, nearly 400 businesses are on the clock today to prove those contracts are legitimate. They have 30 days to do it or they lose their funding. Now, a reminder, your taxes are due on Wednesday. And we are learning more about the shocking ways alleged fraudsters are spending your money. Now, this is from the California Post. In San Diego, one woman is charged with stealing money earmarked to fight fentanyl overdoses. But prosecutors say some of that $30,000 went to her cosmetic procedures, breast implants, tweaks to her arms and thighs, and a tummy tuck. That's your money. She also bought flights to Hawaii and Disneyland and got a couple of purebred dogs. Now, in Los Angeles, a man allegedly used stolen funds to pay for a $7 million home, a $125,000 Range Rover, private school tuition, a private jet, luxury resort stays, and a vacation property in Greece. Now, elsewhere in Southern California, a man accused of using funds set aside to fight homelessness used them on his extravagant parties, a $46,000 a month Beverly Hills mansion, 20 VIP passes to Coachella, and high-end jewelry and handbags costing up to $163,000. But instead of recovering what the state lost to fraud, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is asking for an additional $360 million to prevent homelessness. Isn't that nice? And finally, a former top aide to Gavin Newsom is accused of making bogus business expenses topping $1 million and using that cash to go on a spending spree, which included a $15,000 Chanel handbag and a $156,000 birthday blowout in Mexico. Must be nice. And plenty of fraudsters are sending their money overseas. On Monday, a California resident confessed to funneling more than $5 million in contracts to China and Nigeria. And last week, CMS Administrator Dr. Oz told me that the Cuban government might have their hands in the cookie jar.
We have rampant fraud here, and we believe the Cuban government might be involved in this effort. I was in Flushing, Queens, New York, where Chinese are involved in a program that is defrauding that state with these adult social daycare centers, which are basically congregation centers for fraud. Again, the state's looking the other way.
Joining me now, a man taking action, White House Fraud Task Force Vice Chair Andrew Ferguson. Andrew, I'm looking at the progress you guys have made, just 2 weeks identifying these 400 businesses. How did you identify them?
I mean, look, the federal government has a lot of anti-fraud protections on the books. We've got regulations, we've got statutes. The problem is the Biden administration just ignored them. They turned them off, they ignored them. It was a real disaster. And with our partners at GSA, the task force is just starting to turn these things back on. And we found that 400 businesses with contracts worth $6 billion, originally allocated by the Biden administration, didn't even file physical addresses at their businesses. That's a statutory requirement. You're not supposed to be able to get any money from the United States government unless you put down a physical mailing address, and they just didn't do it. And so with the GSA, in conjunction with the task force, issued letters to these businesses that says you have 30 days or we're cutting you off. There's still $3 billion unpaid on these contracts as of today. So any of the people who fail to file with us their real address, they're losing the money. We're going to save taxpayers' dollars. And that's just a drop in the bucket. Over at the Justice Department, they have gotten indictments and convictions just in the last week worth almost $500 million. We've started turning off Medicaid and Medicare dollars to providers that have become clear are fraudulently charging the government with our partners at HHS. The task force is ripping and rolling under the president's leadership, and I think it's really important for all of your viewers to understand. President Trump is the first American president to take seriously this fraud problem, that honest Americans, like you said, are going to be filing their taxes to the federal government next Wednesday. And for years, dishonest citizens and tons of foreigners and foreign governments have been putting their hands into the pockets of ordinary and honest Americans and taking that money from them. And President Trump is the first president to take this problem seriously. And that's why the task force is being successful, because of the leadership of President Trump and the chairman of the task force, Vice President Vance.
Yeah, from day one, he's taken action, and the left has derided him for that. But the American people clearly care about this. I'm curious, as you're doing this, have you heard from any Democratic governors stepping up and saying, I want to partner with you? Newsom, Pritzker, Walz. Have you heard from any of them?
No. In fact, all I've heard from Democrat governors until early this week was the fraud isn't a problem. This is all a hoax. This is all a distraction. Now, of course, it's clear that they understand the political pain that the empire of fraud that Gavin Newsom has constructed in California is going to cause California Democrats, because this week you had the Attorney General of California and the governor touting all the work they're doing on fraud. Total bullcrap. Total bullcrap, Kayleigh. They have been sitting on top of tens of billions of dollars in known fraud for decades and doing nothing about it. And not just doing nothing about it, they have been facilitating it. Let me just give you an example of this. The government sends tens of millions of dollars to the states every year to fund their Medicaid and Medicare fraud fighting units. Hawaii, just since 2021, has gotten millions and millions of dollars from the federal government to fight Medicaid fraud. Do you know how many convictions they've gotten since 2021? Zero.
Wow.
Zero convictions in Hawaii since 2021. That is outrageous, notwithstanding that we're sending them millions of taxpayer dollars to fight fraud. This is a huge problem in these blue states, and the states have either been doing nothing about it or they've been facilitating it. And the task force, in conjunction with the Department of Justice, we are going to put a stop to this, because that is what President Trump has promised the American people.
It's amazing. And we have a report coming up about home health care. And in that case, there were problems flagged in California, I read, going back to 2009. And I'm sitting here and I just want to rip my hair out as I think, so for essentially 20 years, you know there have been problems, and yet you've taken no action. And with that in mind, what do you think, as you're sitting there looking at all this fraud in the federal government, when you hear Gavin Newsom saying, I want more money for home health care, when you hear Karen Bass, I need more money for this program, what goes through your mind?
I don't understand why Americans would be sending blue state governors more of their hard-earned dollars when we know that they have been allowing fraud to metastasize through their states for decades to the tunes of billions and billions of dollars. And this isn't just fraud. This is fraud that leaves the country. This is why it's so important, not just that we get indictments and convictions, which is really important. It's also important that we prevent the money from leaving the agencies in the first place, because when it leaves the agencies, it often leaves the United States entirely. And so, look, I just don't understand how an ordinary and honest American voter would ever be comfortable with more money going to fund California when California has been leaking billions and billions of dollars in fraud for decades.
And, as we look Wednesday, it occurred to me, taxes are due Wednesday. And we see this money going to Chanel purses and all these items that were noted in the California Post. And then I hear Dr. Oz tell me the Cuban government might be involved. So are we looking at a situation where maybe you have a foreign government that is directly involved in getting the money I'm about to pay on Wednesday?
Yeah, look, I think it's important for everyone to treat the fraud problem in the United States with the seriousness that President Trump is treating it, because this is also a national security problem. We can't be funding our adversaries with our own tax dollars. In order to protect American lives at home, to make sure that Americans are getting the health care services they actually need and deserve and have paid for, and that we're not funding the enemies of Americans abroad, we've got to fight the fraud. And that is why I'm so grateful to be part of this task force under the president and vice president's leadership. They're the first elected officials in the federal government that are taking this problem seriously. And I'm really, really happy all the work the task force is doing and is going to keep doing to end fraud in America.
Andrew Ferguson, keep it up. We'll check in with you soon. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.